starting to colonize at the bottom too. So I did that right. These little veins right here are networks of mycelium starting to colonize the entire substrate. This is a good sign. Plus, you can see some of that vapor, the condensation. That means that it's breathing and that there's CO2 building in here. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where I won't be able to see anything because it's so moist. And at that point, I'm going to open the lid, burp it, and then take the tape off and put filters over it. Say a week. Give it a week. Alright, hey guys, today is May 17th. It's been 4 days since I put my substrate and my grain together. This is what it's looking like. I'm thinking it's pretty much done. If you look at the bottom of the tub, you can see it's mostly colonized by now. There's just a few little patches. No discoloration, no green mold yet, so that's a good sign. I'm gonna show you good. Looking like this basically throughout the entire tub, which is a good sign. It means that the substrate is healthy and that it's colonizing. I think my only concern so far is the lack of condensation on the tub. I'm thinking where I went wrong was with this painter's tape, because if you look closely, there's creases coming from the holes. I'm thinking that this tape isn't tight enough over the holes. I think this tub might be burping itself, but I'm not gonna trip about it, because if we look, there is some moisture in there. If the camera will pick it up, there's some moisture in there, so that's good. That means that it's not drying out, it's not dehydrated. I'm not gonna open it yet, but I would give it maybe 2 or 3 more days, which would make a week, before I open it up, let some fresh air in, and then I change this tape to the micropore tape so it can start breathing and I can get that fresh air exchange. So far so good. I will probably next update when I take the lid off, when I burp it. You can see underneath it there's networks starting to form. That's a good thing. Pretty much throughout the entire tub. I'm just gonna wait for the substrate to get a bit wider, and then it's good to go. Here's what the bottom is looking like. It's just a few areas that are uncolonized. But this is good. I'm really excited. We're maybe 2 weeks away from seeing some mushrooms. It's looking crazy. I believe what's on the surface right here, these little tiny hairs that are sticking up, that's called primordia. It's when the networks of mycelium begin sprouting their first little signs of pinning. So I know that everything is going right. The conditions here are perfect. I should be able to cut into fruit maybe in 2 days. I'm thinking like Sunday, Monday. Today's Saturday morning. It's looking good. Alright, today is May 19th. This is what the inside is looking like. First thing I noticed, there's a bunch of condensation on the sides of the walls. This wasn't here yesterday. This is like a big improvement because the one thing I wasn't seeing was enough moisture in the tub, and I wasn't sure if my cake was drying out. But if you look, you can see all that water, and it's starting to, there's some spots you can see it's starting to get moisture on the surface of the substrate. So it's a good thing, that's what you want, but you don't want it to get too wet to the point where it's pooling, because once it begins to pool, that's where bacteria starts to grow. You can see there's primordia right there, those little hairs that are sticking up. So I'm excited. I'm thinking about 2 or 3 more days before I could crack the lid on this. You can see the mycelia, the veins, the networks, they're starting to get real defined. That means that it's just, oh my goodness. That means it's just about done. Yeah, I could crack the lid like tomorrow. This is impressive. I'm glad we made it this far. This is only one more step. Once you open the lid, all you gotta do is let it sit. Maybe mist it if it gets too dry. Put the micro pore tape on and let it breathe, and you'll see mushrooms in like 2 or 3 weeks. This is big. Hey guys, today is May 20th, the last vlog that you guys saw. We left off right at the part where we put the substrate and the grain together to colonize. It's since been about a week. I think the last vlog was May 13th, May 14th. So I think I waited a little bit longer than one normally would when it comes to getting to the next step, and that's introducing your fresh air exchange. So what we're gonna do today is, now that our substrate has been completely colonized, here I'll get some light for you, because I will admit it's a poor time of day to do this. I've been a bit busy today, but I didn't want to wait too long. Here's what it's looking like. Right now, my substrate is basically completely white, and there's still some moisture inside the tub, so you can't see too much, but I'll add the videos of the progress throughout the week. So today we're going to be replacing the painter's tape and introducing fresh air into our tub. So off camera, I already cleaned up our area. It's a little bit darker than I'd like in here, so I'm gonna see if I can turn a light on. Yeah. So the only thing I'm gonna be cleaning is the tub, just because the place that I put it isn't ideal either. So let's get our gloves and our alcohol right here. And our micro pore tape. I'm gonna be using micro pore tape instead of the filter because I feel like this would keep more humidity inside the tub. I wanna limit the amount of times that I'm opening the lid and spraying with water, especially in the pinning stage, because if you spray the pins directly, you might risk killing them or damaging them, and they won't grow or fruit all the way. You'll get like little tiny baby ones and they won't ever mature. So I'm using this, and let's get started. I'm really surprised by the genetics of the spores that I got. I've noticed throughout this entire process, I've never had an issue with the colonization of anything. Like we saw the grain bags colonize pretty quickly. When I had that one grain bag that was growing slow, all I had to do was break it up, and a day later I'd seen that it had colonized like 100%. And when it came to the substrate, this is only a week and it's already ready for fruiting conditions. Like it's completely white even at the bottom, all the way around. So I'm pretty impressed. I'm gonna be wiping the general area of the sides of the tub, just because clean when I remove the tape. Spraying and wiping it, because it doesn't kill on impact like immediately. You still gotta give it a few seconds. Alright. Next, I think I'm gonna replace the tape first and then I'll burp the lid just to be safe. So let's move this. Get our micropore tape. And I probably already explained like a few times now, but the micropore tape is what gives you the fresh air exchange. It allows air to come in without too much getting out and drying up your tub. Oh dear. This is gonna be tricky with gloves. So the first holes right here. I'm so anxious. I'm so nervous. Make sure that when you're doing this, you're doing it in an area with still airflow. You don't want too much air getting in because that's where you risk contamination. So I'm trying to be real still with the box when I open it, or when I take the tape off. Now that we have our micropore tape all around our holes, this is the last step, and you don't want to mess the step up at all. You're gonna open the lid just a little bit, let some air in, and then you're gonna close it. You're gonna make a few observations while the lid is open, but you don't want to speak over it or get any like dusty air in or anything. You don't want to get any contamination here. So I'm just gonna open it real quick. I'm gonna smell it. I'm gonna look at it, check for any mold or any failed growth areas. And if it's dry, I'll spray it. I have a spray bottle. I'm gonna go get it because I completely forgot. But I'm gonna spray it if it's dry, which I don't think it is. You can see the condensation, but I'm gonna open it. Okay, let me stand up. Alright. It's looking good. I'm pretty surprised. I'm not seeing any pooling. There's no pools of water on the surface. That's a good sign. There's no greening or mold looking colors. That's also a good thing. And it looks like the primordia is basically already developed. So all you'd have to do is wait for pinning. So it looks like we are good to go. Our next step will be coming back in a week or two and checking for any signs of pinning. But if it starts to get muggy in here again, you just crack it open and you're basically done. So I'm gonna put this in a dark, warm place. I'm not gonna touch it, move it, or anything. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. And I'll update you.